Welcome to Talk Oxfordshire. I'm Daisy Smith. Today I'm joined on the sofa by Kelly Marks, horse whisperer and founder of Intelligent Horsemanship, and Angela Hobbs, who's commercial director at Tritech, an innovative product design consultancy working in Oxford, Thames Valley and in Europe. With these two successful businesswomen on the sofa, we will be focusing on business news this week. We'll be talking about the current uncertainty with changes in the government and the impending EU split, and how this may affect new and established businesses in the county. We'll also talk about startup businesses, the national minimum wage, and companies who haven't been reaching these levels, as well as the Oxfordshire Business Awards. Thank you both for joining me.
Thank you.
So our first story today is the papers are full of negative stories at the moment about EU, and everything's going to go tragically wrong at any moment. But basically, if we believe what we read, it's all going to be disastrous. So Angela, surely with all this uncertainty, starting a new business, is that a good thing?
It's certainly a fair point. I don't think we've obviously seen the full effects of Brexit yet, and there are a lot of funding programmes that have come out of Europe. The area that Tritech specialises in is in design and developing safety critical medical products, and a lot of those have been funded by things like the European Health Programme, Horizon 2020. Now what's going to happen to those in the future, I wish I knew. There's been no announcement or news. But on the other hand, I think Oxfordshire is a fantastic place to start a new business. The availability of resources and information and support is outstanding. So it has a lot of positives for people in that region who want to set something up that's new.
So if you're starting a business that's more regional, you're quite safe. So is it maybe if you're looking at something that's more importing, exporting, is that going to be more the concern?
I think it will be, you have to be very certain on where your investment's coming from and how long that investment's going to be available, and what targets and objectives you need to reach in that time. And that's certainly become more uncertain because of the recent developments. So it's harder for people to be able to forecast that. But I do think at the moment the signs are good, and as long as you do your research properly and make sure you've got the right advice from professional people, you should be in a good position to still carry forward and get your business off the ground.
I think that's what a lot of people have been saying, is that there's so much uncertainty. Actually just research it.
Yes.
And find out what might be at risk and what situations are available now that may not be in a few years' time.
And also I think there's been many other situations that have emerged when people have started a new business that they haven't known about. Things can come out of the blue and completely hit you when you're not expecting them. And I think all of that comes back to the importance of when you have a startup, make sure you've got the right team, the right advice, and that you know what you're letting yourself in for. Have you got the energy for it, the commitment for it, and have you got people to turn to when you need help? And really that's remained unchanged for a long time. I think still important lessons.
Do your research first, yeah, absolutely. And so there's been quite a big increase in recent years of new businesses in Oxfordshire. Yes,
there has. I think I was looking at a report before I came to talk to you today. I think in 2014 there was something like 5,050 active businesses in Oxford and 660 startups, which sounds really, really impressive given the size of the Oxford community. If you compare that with somewhere like Birmingham, which isn't that far away, they have in the region of 34,000 active businesses and nearly 6,000 startups. So you can see that in this area there's a lot of activity going on. And I'm sure you would know more than me, the buzz in news programmes like this and general conversations and in the media is all about startups. It's a very big new thing. And of course now, although startups have been around for a long time, they've never had this much attention. And now we're talking about startups and scale-ups. So what's happening to those startups who were formed 3, 4, 5 years ago? Where are they now and what are they doing and what impact are they having on the local community? And all of that helps generate interest and investment. So it's all a positive as far as I can see.
Yeah. And so Kelly, your business is very much established. So is it still a worry, all this kind of uncertainty at the moment?
I don't know about this doom and gloom. I think it depends which papers you read and so on, and your feelings. The FTSE 100 is reaching its peak now. I just had a German student on my courses for the first time in ages saying, I've got to take advantage of the we compound, so I might get more foreign students come over. And as Angela was saying, at least, we know that we're not quite sure what's going to happen, but imagine starting a business in 2007 or exactly. Some of those times. What was it we went through, the dot-com boom and things like that, and you're just going in blind and thinking it's all fantastic, and then you get a real shock, don't you? So as ever, you've got to work hard and be smart and be the best. And any kind of recession, I don't think this is a recession, is it? I think we've had that, not yet. But any kind of recession means that the good people are going to come to the top and do better. It sounds an awful thing to say, it kills off your competition, but that's, you've just got to work hard and be the best. Yeah,
well, I suppose with this situation, we know there may be import issues, there may be currency issues. So as you say, foreign students may look at that as a positive. So there might be but we can actually look ahead. But
it was in the paper that we were spending so many billion, which is a ridiculous amount, however many billion, with the EU, and now they're going to use half that amount to make sure our farmers and our scientists and our education is still subsidised at least till 2020. So sounds good. The Brexit thing, if the people that wanted to stay in, I'm talking about the politicians now, they did such a bad case, because it's always easy to get people to go out to say it's going to be new and it's going to be great and there's a change, but they did nothing to persuade 1% of the country to stay in, other than scare stories. They did such a bad job. So I was talking to somebody today who's friend of Theresa May, and they say, this is good news, she's very dull, but you're in safe hands. So that's good. I think we were due for a change.
There's a lot of positive. We actually spoke about her a couple of weeks. There's a lot of positives, that she seems very strong, very confident, that actually, in the unknown, she doesn't seem like an unsafe pair of hands.
She feels safer than we were.
Yeah, well, we shall wait and see on that one. So our next story is an Oxford Mail story, which features a story about Gary Frank, who's the business brain behind a Whitney-based cupcake, muffin and flapjack brand. I'm a big fan of Fabulous Bacon Boys. So Gary built the company to be £17 million turnover and then sold it. And now he's focusing on giving back with a company called Fab Accelerator, which is offering expert advice and practical experience when setting up a business for yourself. It's great when you hear that successful people are giving back and teaching as they go along. So there's a lot of kind of mentoring schemes, and you were saying earlier that there's lots of opportunities to learn for new businesses like this.
I think there are, and there are more emerging in Oxford all the time. It is an amazing community for business support. You have to be active. I mean, you have to go out and look for it and work out the best opportunities that are relevant to your business, but it's certainly there. And I did actually hear him, Gary, speak. He was on a panel of judges for pitching for investment, and he's excellent. He's charismatic, so knowledgeable, and really, really well informed. And there's some great stories that have come out of Oxford. I think one of my favourite, I've spoken to Kelly about this before, there's a man called Torsten Rills, who was at Oxford University studying zoology, and he developed a game. And his idea was to have, I think it was based on the Starbucks principle, in that, is there a game you can play on your phone and you can start and complete it by the time you've got your coffee? So it's a quick way of playing a game. It was called CSR Racing. He developed that in Oxford. He was funded partly by the university, and he still has an Oxford office. He's also got one in London, Brighton, and I think LA. And he sold his company in 2014 for $526 million.
Wow.
So there are a lot of, they're not always at that level, but there are a lot of success stories. So I prefer to focus on the positive and look what can be achieved when you work towards a goal. And I hope that the new startups that are emerging in Oxford now can think there are still opportunities to be successful.
It's great that if you are starting up looking for these people that have made it work, and if there are opportunities to learn from them, I suppose that's where you go.
And when people have been successful and they take the time to come back and support and mentor and give their time. I think that's a wonderful story, and it's good for their business too, but they're also giving up valuable time to help other people to show that it can be done.
Yeah.
I think by helping young people, you remind yourself a lot of things. You teach what you need to learn, and so by having young people and doing that, I'm sure that they're getting a benefit, even if they didn't realise it to start with. You get that life.
I think that's true.
And so on. That's fantastic, yeah.
So you run courses in Whitney yourself?
Yes, yeah.
So teaching, that gives, they always say, you know, you get more than you give almost with teaching. Have you found that's
Oh, I have a lot of fun,
case?
but one of the things that's brilliant is when I have particularly talented students, they go on and they work with horses with problems themselves, okay, because I can't go out to every horse, and I get students from Germany now. I've actually had one from Australia, but I've had students from all over the world and certainly all over Britain. So if I get a call from Scotland, I can't go out there personally. So I've got, say, someone out there, and so I'll call them, and so they will come back to me with saying, well, I had a bit of this problem. Do you know, we never have a problem with the horses. Occasionally it's owner, explaining to the owner and things like that, and so we discuss it, and we have a meeting once a year and we discuss these things. It's so good for learning. It's like a university in itself, because if you all come back with I'm trying to think which book I read about this.
Give me a clue.
It wasn't The Tipping Point.
You read a lot
you know,
of
I've got
books.
this incredible library of so many books, but it might have been The Tipping Point, Malcolm Gladwell, about, you know, when you discuss things together, how it helps your own learning.
Yes, I think that's very true.
And they were talking about doctors and nurses and how essential it is to do that, and with every trade, sharing,
spreading the knowledge.
Yeah, because in the horse world, traditionally, you kept secrets so that nobody else could be as good as you. We're changing that.
That's good. Well, join us after the break for more like this.